What is up, world? It's your boy Ton, and you are listening to the Wonton Wealth Podcast. Here, I'm going to unravel anything and everything commercial real estate related. And more importantly, we're going to add abundant value. So if you're ready, buckle up your eardrums. In the last episode, I talked about LOIs. And today we're going to take it a little bit further. We're going to be talking about PSAs, or purchase and sale agreements, which is like the LOI's big brother, if you will. If you plan on owning a lot of real estate, you're going to run into a fuck ton of these babies. So what is a PSA? Why should you care? The PSA is essentially the backbone of your real estate deal. It's going to spell out all the key terms like the purchase price, the buyer's needs, seller's needs, restrictions, and contingencies. Think of it as the holy grail of your transaction. These documents are going to be drafted by real estate attorneys, and they are meant to be signed by both parties, the buyer and the seller. After you get all the back and forth on, the terminologies, this word spelled wrong, all that bullshit, it's going to look like an English teacher exploded a red pen on the document. There's going to be a lot of redlining. There's going to be a lot of back and forth going on about, I want this, he wants that, and you got to get to a compromise somewhere. The PSAs are going to specify the payment terms, responsibilities of both parties, and pretty much the condition for transferring the ownership of the property. They are a little bit more complex than your run-of-the-mill residential real estate agreements because they involve ownership rights and financing options. This process is going to take anywhere from probably a few weeks, and it could even drag to months. The reason being, you have an attorney involved. Every single time it comes through, they have to review it, then you got to review it. You got to talk it over, see what you like, see what you want, see what you can live with and live without. So it's going to move at pretty much the speed of molasses. But once you get the PSA inked up, it's time to celebrate because you've spent all that time getting to that inked up signature. So what's next? After you get the PSA signed, you're going to want to open up escrow. Usually you want to go with a title company that you prefer because at the end of the day, if they have already worked with you, they're going to like you, hopefully, and they're going to have your back. So your escrow agent is going to be like your gatekeeper. They're going to safeguard your funds, all your documents, and until all the transaction conditions are met based upon your PSA. After they open up escrow, you're going to get your title company to jump in and verify the seller's legal right to sell the property and identify any encumbrances that are on the property. You do not want any nasty surprises popping up later after you've bought the property. And after that, you're probably going to have to get the bank involved. You're going to have to get all your financing in order. The bank is going to order, any third-party reports like inspections, surveys, appraisals, and potentially an environmental report. And so this is going to be during your DD period. So once you highlight how much time you need for the DD, you kind of have to get all this stuff squared away within that time frame, hopefully sooner. You do not want to miss a deadline because if you do, you're going to lose your earnest money. So let's go through some of the components of the purchase and sale agreement. You're going to have the names of the buyer and the seller, probably an LLC. Sometimes it might be a personal name. You're going to have the purchase price, how much you're willing to pay for it, and how much the seller is accepting for the property. You got the property address, you got the parcel number, then you got any specific terms that are negotiated during the deal. You're going to have the earnest money deposit amount, which once again is held in escrow, and it's going to be refundable, hopefully. And when I say hopefully, it means that you should probably look at your purchase and sale agreement, have your attorney make sure that your earnest money deposit is refundable under certain circumstances. You're going to have a closing time frame, and it might even spell out the date. You're going to have your due diligence time frame and date. You're going to have closing costs responsibilities, who's responsible for what costs. It might even put in the commissions of the brokers if there are any. It might even spell out the site visit timeline. How much time after the contract being signed will you need in order to actually come and visit the property? Then you got extensions. If you want to bake in some extensions, maybe have a clause in there that spells out that you need, I don't know, 30 days extra or 60 days extra in case of whatever event that happens. For usually when that's the case, it's going to have to be in writing, and you're probably going to have to put more earnest money deposit down. Most importantly, in a purchase agreement, you should have contingencies in there. The most common ones are, your appraisal contingency, any environmental matters, leases, DD items that are not received, your inspection, estoppels, title, zoning, and financing in general. All of these are a lot of times outside of your control. So if something pops up that you don't like, you should be able to get out of it. So let's dig a little bit deeper into these contingencies. So the financing contingency is going to be protecting you if financing can't be secured for whatever reason. Maybe the banker doesn't like it anymore. A lot of times banks, boards, they're going to change what they like, because once again, this due diligence period is going to take a while. Once you get it under contract and you move through all the rungs of the ladder, there's a lot of things that's going to change over a period of time. So the bank might not even like it anymore, or for some reason your financing terms change and your numbers look different. This is going to help you get out of the deal. You probably have a title and survey contingency. This is going to make sure that the property is free of any liens and or legal issues. Once again, you don't want to buy a property with all this fuckery that's in there. You're probably going to have a property inspection contingency. It's going to look at all the mechanicals of the building, the systems, the structures, and if something is there that wasn't told to you or you weren't aware of, this helps you get out of that. You also want contingencies to review the leases. A lot of times landlords or owners are going to give you one thing on a lease when leases could have changed over the years in amendments or being inherited. You also want to have a contingency for estoppels. A lot of times banks are going to want estoppels anyways, so that's an important piece there. You're also going to want contingencies for zoning, to verify that the property's use and legitimacy is valid with the city, because the last thing you want is to buy a property that's being used for, let's say, retail, but somehow it's zoned industrial. So now all your tenants are going to have to move out, and you might not even know how to work industrial properties. And you might have some other miscellaneous contingencies like environmental assessments or vendor contracts. So if your property needs an environmental assessment, these can take a little bit of time. So you want to make sure that whatever findings within the environmental reports are satisfactory in order for you to purchase a building. If it's a huge mess, you don't want to clean it up because it's costly and timely. So I also have a couple value tips for you guys in terms of the negotiation phase or within that purchase and sale agreement phase. First up, when you get a shit ton of leases from the seller, make sure you have your attorney review it in order to give you a lease summary. So it's going to give you a better idea of what each tenant is responsible for and or any just crazy anomalies that are out there, so that you pretty much understand all of your tenants comprehensively. And then you also want to make sure that your attorney is reviewing the title and the survey before your due diligence period even starts. They're going to review the title to make sure there's not any liens or encumbrances or any reason why the transfer of the property is going to be disadvantageous to you. And obviously they're going to look at the survey as well. To make sure that what you're buying is actually what you're buying. Once you're negotiating with the seller, make sure you only negotiate once. They're not going to like getting beaten down on price consecutively. Like, for example, if you want to, if you find something on the inspection that wasn't there, if you negotiate now, they'll be like, okay, whatever, I'll give you $50,000 off. And then next week you find something else that's wrong, and then you're trying to negotiate for another $50,000. They're just going to get pissed off and most likely walk away. So I would consolidate all of your negotiations into one. Gather all your information and get on a call with them and present all your findings and all the numbers that are associated with all the findings, and pretty much negotiate just that lump sum. And I am more organized than not, so a lot of times I like to keep a timetable to track important dates. So when a PSA is signed, I'm going to document the date that it's signed and all of the other important dates that are going to fall thereafter. Those being, when do I have to get my earnest money in? When does my due diligence period start and when does it end? When does my closing period or closing timeline start? When does that end? If I have extensions in there, those dates are going to change. It's going to be a little bit dynamic here and there. So it's important to keep those dates, once again, because your earnest money is super important. You don't want to lose that earnest money just for some stupid reason or disorganization. And that is a wrap for today. Hope you guys got a clearer picture of what purchase and sale agreements look like in the CRE realm. If you learned something, hit the subscribe button, leave us a review, and share it. Until next time, Wonton out.
And that's a wrap. If you've made it this far, that means you've listened to the entire episode, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And if you've learned something or found it useful, share it with one of your homies. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty active on IG. My handle is pro_TANH. Reach out, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, or what you want to hear about in the future. I'm here to tailor this to you. Until next time.